The Zenith Commander Xar'Vex bled silver onto the cold metal floor. Each labored step left another gleaming puddle as his captors, the impossible humans, dragged him deeper into the cavernous hull of the derelict warship. His primary heart struggled to maintain function while the secondary one had already shut down to preserve his life functions. "Move," growled the human female. She stood nearly as tall as Xar'Vex's 2-meter frame, her features sharp beneath augmented combat armor that seemed to pulse with her every breath. Most disturbing were her eyes, pitch black from corner to corner, reflecting nothing. "I said move." She shoved him forward with inhuman strength, and Xar'Vex stumbled, 3-jointed legs barely keeping him upright. "Your species was exterminated," Xar'Vex hissed through mandibles that clicked with each syllable. "The Great Purge was thorough. We left nothing alive." The male human, broader and more heavily augmented, laughed a harsh, metallic sound. "And that was your first mistake." His skin was mottled with surgical scars and implant ports. "You taught us what happens when we show mercy." This defied all logic. Xar'Vex had studied the records. The Zenith Dominion had eliminated the human threat 300 cycles ago, cleansing their worlds and hunting the scattered survivors for decades. It was the Dominion's greatest triumph, the total eradication of a species deemed too dangerous to exist. Humans had been recognized early as a threat unlike any other. Their adaptability, their boundless aggression, their terrifying capacity to bond with and utilize technology not meant for their kind, and yet, here they were. Not just surviving, but evolved beyond recognition. The corridor opened into a vast chamber that once served as a hangar for smaller craft. The space had been repurposed, filled with makeshift structures and unfamiliar technology that hummed with power. Xar'Vex's analytical mind noted how efficiently the humans had cannibalized the ancient warship, turning a dead husk into something new, but the true horror awaited at the center of the chamber: children. Human children. At least 24 of them, ranging from tiny, helpless things to adolescents on the cusp of adulthood. They were gathered in clusters, some playing games with floating holographic interfaces, others training with weapons nearly as large as themselves. All displayed varying degrees of the same modifications as the adults. "Impossible," Xar'Vex whispered. The female human, she had called herself Reyna during the ambush, roughly pushed him to his knees before the gathered children. "This is what you tried to erase, Commander. Take a good look." A small human child approached, no more than 6 cycles old by Xar'Vex's estimate. The child's arms were laced with fine metallic filaments that disappeared beneath the skin. Those black eyes, the same as the adults, regarded him with unnerving intelligence. "Is he going to help us?" the child asked, voice echoing strangely, as though multiple voices spoke in unison. Reyna's expression softened momentarily as she looked at the child. "That's what we're going to find out, Eli." Xar'Vex felt a chill pass through his exoskeleton. "Help you? I am a commanding officer of the Zenith Dominion. My duty is to report your existence so that the purge can be completed properly." The male human Ajax placed a hand on Xar'Vex's shoulder, squeezing until the commander's carapace began to crack. "You misunderstand your situation, Commander. You're not a prisoner of war. You're a resource. Either you help us willingly, or we extract what we need directly from your neural cluster." The threat was not idle. Xar'Vex had heard rumors of the humans' propensity for biological integration before the purge. "If even half of those accounts were true, what do you want from me?" he asked. Reyna gestured to the children. "The future of our species is at stake. These children represent everything we've managed to salvage after your Dominion tried to wipe us out. But they're in danger." "From the Dominion?" "From something worse," Ajax said grimly. "Something that even your mighty empire fears. Something that's hunting us all." The neural interface hurt more than Xar'Vex had anticipated. The human's technology was crude compared to Zenith standards, but brutally efficient. Pain receptors flared as filaments penetrated his cranial plates and linked with his neural cluster. "Try to relax," said the human they called Doc, an older female with most of her original form replaced by mechanical components. "Fighting the interface only makes it worse." "This is barbaric," Xar'Vex spat, mandibles flaring. Doc's augmented eyes whirred as they focused. "Barbaric? That's rich, coming from a species that tried to exterminate ours. We learned barbarism from the best teachers in the galaxy." The interface clicked into place, and suddenly Xar'Vex's sensory input doubled. He could still feel his body, but he was also experiencing the ship's systems, flowing through its ancient circuitry like a ghost. Neural sync established, Doc announced. He's in. Reyna's face appeared in his field of vision. Let me be clear, Commander. You are going to help us access the secure Zenith communication protocols. We need to send a warning. To whom? Xar'Vex managed to ask through the disorientation. To everyone, Ajax replied. Including your precious Dominion. The interface pulled Xar'Vex deeper, and memories began to surface involuntarily. His first command assignment. The training routines of the elite Zenith forces. The classified protocols of the Dominion fleet. He tried to resist, but the interface was relentless, sifting through his mind like a predator searching for prey. There, Reyna said suddenly. That's what we need. The emergency broadcast codes. Xar'Vex tried to shut down the memory, but it was too late. The humans had what they wanted. Why would you warn the Dominion? He asked when they finally released him from the interface. His head throbbed with residual pain. We are your enemy. We tried to destroy you. Because some things are more important than old grudges, Reyna said quietly. Even one soaked in the blood of billions. Ajax helped Xar'Vex to a sitting position. The commander was surprised by the gentleness of the gesture. 3 cycles ago, we detected unusual activity in the outer reaches, Ajax explained. A Zenith science vessel disappeared without a trace. Then another. Then a small colony outpost. All gone, with no distress signals. Routine space hazards, Xar'Vex dismissed. The void is not forgiving. Then we found this. Reyna activated a holographic display. The image showed a massive structure drifting in the darkness of space, organic and mechanical components fused together in ways that defied rational design. Do you recognize it? Xar'Vex felt his blood run cold. Harvesters. So your kind does know about them, Reyna's expression hardened. We suspected as much. The ancients spoke of them in warnings, Xar'Vex said, his voice hollow. They come from beyond the galactic rim. They consume. They assimilate. They leave nothing. And they're targeting human children specifically, Ajax added grimly. The few remaining human outposts have reported abductions. Only the children. Xar'Vex looked toward the gathered young humans. Why? That's what we need to find out, Reyna said. And that's why we need the Dominion's help. Your empire has resources we don't, information we can't access. The absurdity of the situation wasn't lost on Xar'Vex. Humans, the species his people had tried to eradicate, now sought an alliance against a greater threat. You understand what you're asking, he said. Even if I agreed, the Dominion would more likely launch a second purge than offer assistance. Not if they understand what's at stake, Reyna countered. The harvesters don't discriminate. Today it's human children. Tomorrow, it could be Zenith hatchlings. The small child Eli approached again, studying Xar'Vex with those unsettling black eyes. You're afraid, the child said simply. Not of us. Of them. Xar'Vex couldn't deny it. The harvesters were the stuff of Zenith nightmares, tales told to obedience-age younglings to ensure compliance. If they were real, if they had returned. I will help you send your warning, he finally conceded. But I make no promises about the Dominion's response. The communication array of the ancient warship groaned back to life under Xar'Vex's guidance. The humans had done an admirable job of restoring the basic systems, but the secure channels required Zenith authorization codes that only a high-ranking officer like Xar'Vex possessed. Broadcast ready, Doc announced from her station. Encryption protocols aligned with current Dominion standards. Reyna nodded. Send it. The message was concise but comprehensive, details of the harvester sightings, the pattern of abductions, and a warning about the imminent threat they pose to all sentient life in the galaxy. Attached were coordinates for a neutral meeting point where representatives of the human remnant would await a Dominion response. And now we wait, Ajax said, his augmented hand flexing nervously, they didn't have to wait long. 6 hours after the broadcast, sensors detected a Zenith battle cruiser emerging from hyperspace. It was a Dreadnought-class vessel, one of the newest in the Dominion fleet, bristling with enough firepower to reduce the ancient warship to atoms. "They found us quickly," Reyna observed, tension evident in her voice. "The broadcast contained my officer's signature," Xar'Vex explained. "They would have prioritized the signal." "Are they here to talk or to finish what they started?" Ajax asked, weapons systems already charging. The answer came in the form of a communication request. Reyna hesitated, then accepted the transmission. A holographic image materialized before them, a Zenith High Commander, distinguished by the ornate crests that adorned his exoskeleton. "Commander Xar'Vex," the High Commander began, his voice resonating with authority. "We had presumed you lost with your vessel." "High Commander Vex'ahlia," Xar'Vex acknowledged with as much dignity as he could muster in his wounded state. "As you can see, the situation is complex." The High Commander's compound eyes shifted, taking in the humans surrounding Xar'Vex. "So it's true. The abomination survived." "Watch who you're calling abominations," Ajax growled, stepping forward. Vex'ahlia's attention fixed on Ajax. "Your species was deemed too dangerous to exist alongside civilized worlds. Your adaptability, your aggression, your disregard for natural boundaries all made you an existential threat to galactic stability. And yet here we are," Reyna replied coldly. "Evolved beyond your worst nightmares. So the question is, do we continue an old war, or do we address the new threat that endangers us all?" The High Commander was silent for a moment. "The Harvester sightings have been confirmed by 3 separate Dominion outposts. If they have returned, the consequences would be severe." "They're targeting children," Reyna pressed. "Human children specifically, for now. But their pattern of expansion suggests no species will be spared." "You propose cooperation?" Vex'ahlia's tone made the word sound like a disease. "We propose survival," Xar'Vex interjected. "High Commander, I have seen what these humans have become. They are formidable, yes, but they are also desperate to protect their young. A trait I believe we Zenith can understand." The chamber fell silent as Vex'ahlia considered this. Finally, he spoke, "A delegation will board your vessel in 2 hours. Any sign of treachery, and the dreadnought will open fire. Is that understood?" "Perfectly," Reyna confirmed. As the transmission ended, Ajax turned to Xar'Vex. "You defended us. Why?" Xar'Vex looked toward the children, who had been hidden during the transmission. "Because some enemies are worse than others. And because extermination is easy, understanding is harder." The Zenith delegation arrived precisely on schedule, 5 officers and 10 elite guards, all visibly uncomfortable in the presence of humans. High Commander Vex'ahlia led them, his massive frame dominating the meeting chamber. "Let's be clear," Vex'ahlia began without preamble. "The cessation of hostilities is temporary and conditional. The human question will be revisited once the Harvester threat is contained." Reyna, representing the human faction, nodded stiffly. "Understood. Our immediate concern is the children who have already been taken. We believe they're being held at a Harvester processing station in the Cygnus Void." Xar'Vex, who had been granted provisional reinstatement to facilitate the joint operation, brought up a holographic display of the target location. "The facility appears to be a hybrid of organic and mechanical components. Conventional weapons may be ineffective against its adaptive architecture." "Then what do you suggest?" Vex'ahlia asked. "A joint strike team," Ajax proposed. "Zenith tactical precision combined with human adaptability. We've developed technology specifically designed to interface with and disrupt biomechanical systems." Vex'ahlia's crests flared in skepticism. "You expect us to trust humans with access to a Dominion warship?" "No," Reyna countered. "We expect you to trust that we want our children back more than we want revenge. For now." The tension in the room was palpable, centuries of hatred and fear not easily set aside. But the alternative, leaving children to the Harvesters, was unthinkable to both species. "Very well," Vex'ahlia finally conceded. "A joint operation. But Commander Xar'Vex will oversee the human contingent personally." As the details were hammered out, Eli approached the gathered leaders, ignoring the protective stance of the Zenith guards. "It won't be enough," the child said, causing all conversation to halt. Xar'Vex felt a strange resonance in the child's voice, as though it contained harmonics beyond normal human speech. "What do you mean, Eli?" Reyna asked gently. "The harvesters didn't choose human children randomly," Eli explained, black eyes fixed on Vex'ahlia. "They chose us because of what the Purge did to us. Because of how we had to change to survive." Vex'ahlia's compound eyes narrowed. "Explain, human child." "When your kind tried to kill us all, the survivors had to adapt. Fast. Some went mechanical." Eli gestured to Ajax's augmentations. "Some went biological." A nod toward Reyna. "But the children born after were something else. Something new." To demonstrate, Eli raised a small hand. The air around it seemed to distort, and for a brief moment, strands of energy arced between the child's fingertips. "By the ancients," one of the Zenith officers whispered. "The harvesters want what we've become," Eli continued. "They want to understand how we interface with technology, how we manipulate energy fields. They want to harvest our adaptations." Xar'Vex looked to Reyna for confirmation. "Is this true?" She nodded grimly. "The children of the post-Purge generation developed abilities we didn't anticipate. Neural interfaces that don't require implants. Direct energy manipulation. Accelerated healing. We believe it's an evolutionary response to the extreme conditions we endured." "And you kept this secret during negotiations?" Vex'ahlia demanded. "Would you have agreed to help if you knew what our children are capable of?" Ajax challenged. "Or would you have seen it as confirmation that the Purge was justified?" The question hung in the air, unanswered because the answer was obvious. Xar'Vex stepped forward. "The situation has changed, but the imperative remains the same. These children, human children with unprecedented abilities, cannot fall into harvester control. The consequences would be catastrophic for all life in the galaxy." Vex'ahlia's posture suggested internal conflict, but his response was decisive. "The operation proceeds as planned, with one addition. If recovery proves impossible, we implement containment protocols. No harvester vessel leaves the facility intact." "Even if it means sacrificing the children?" Reyna asked, voice tight. "Even then," Vex'ahlia confirmed coldly. Reyna's eyes narrowed, but she nodded. "Agreed. But it won't come to that." The assault on the harvester facility unfolded with brutal efficiency. The Zenith dreadnought provided covering fire while 3 dropships, 2 Zenith, 1 human, approached from different vectors. Xar'Vex commanded the mixed-species team aboard the 3rd vessel, with Reyna and Ajax flanking him. "Remember," he instructed as they prepared to breach the facility's outer membrane, "the harvesters adapt quickly. Standard tactics will only work once, if at all." "That's why you have us," Ajax replied, final checks complete on his modified assault gear. "Humans specialize in unpredictability." The dropship shuddered as it attached to the facility's surface. Cutting tools deployed, slicing through the organic metallic composite that formed the harvester's outer shell. "Breach in 10 seconds, the pilot announced. Xar'Vex drew his sidearm, a precision energy weapon calibrated to disrupt biomechanical systems. "Our priority is locating the human children. Secondary objective is gathering intelligence on harvester operations. All other considerations are tertiary." The breach was completed with a wet, tearing sound as the facility's outer layer gave way. Immediately, the assault team surged forward into the unknown. The interior of the harvester facility defied conventional architecture. Corridors shifted and pulsed like arteries. Lighting came from bioluminescent patches that reacted to their presence, brightening as they advanced. The air was thick with an acrid smell that made Xar'Vex's respiratory filters work overtime. "Life signs detected, 2 levels down," reported a Zenith scout, reading from portable sensors. "Multiple small signatures consistent with human children. And numerous unknown signatures surrounding them," added Reyna, checking her own equipment. "Harvester guards, most likely." They moved deeper into the facility, encountering only token-resistant spindly, drone-like entities that seemed more focused on maintenance than defense. This changed abruptly when they reached a central chamber. The space was vast, dome-shaped, with a pulsating core at its center. Surrounding this core were transparent containment pods, each holding a human child in suspended animation. Monitoring equipment, a grotesque hybrid of technology and living tissue, was attached to each pod, extracting data and biological samples. Eli. Reyna gasped, spotting the child they knew among the captives. Defending the chamber were Harvester Sentinels, 2-meter-tall constructs with multiple limbs ending in various tools and weapons. Unlike the maintenance drones, these moved with purpose and coordination. Sentinels identified, Xar'Vex announced through the tactical network. Engaging. The battle erupted with coordinated precision. Zenith soldiers provided covering fire while human operatives used their enhanced mobility to flank the Sentinels. Xar'Vex found himself fighting alongside Ajax, their disparate combat styles somehow complementing each other. "They're adapting to our weapons," Ajax warned after several minutes of intense fighting. His energy rifle was having diminishing effects on the Sentinels. Xar'Vex had noticed the same phenomenon. Each shot seemed less effective than the last as the Harvesters adjusted their defenses in real time. "Switch to physical ammunition," he ordered. Primitive but effective. The tactical shift bought them precious time. While the Sentinels recalibrated to the new threat, Reyna led a small team to the containment pods, beginning the delicate process of extracting the children. "Commander, we have a problem," she called over the comms. "The pods are integrated with the facility's systems. Removing them triggers a security protocol." As if to illustrate her point, an alarm began to sound, not an artificial klaxon, but an organic wailing that resonated through the chamber. More Sentinels began to emerge from recessed areas in the walls. "Hi Commander," Xar'Vex contacted the dreadnought. "The situation is escalating. Request immediate extraction and prepare containment protocols." "Negative, Commander," came Vexalia's response. "New Harvester vessels have been detected approaching your position. Estimated arrival, 15 minutes. The dreadnought is engaging." The implications were clear. They needed to complete the mission and evacuate before reinforcements arrived, or face being overwhelmed. "We need to disconnect the children simultaneously," Reyna reasoned. "If we could override the central system, too risky," Xar'Vex countered. "We don't understand their technology well enough." Ajax, who had been fighting off Sentinels near the chamber's entrance, rejoined them. "We don't need to understand it. We just need to disrupt it long enough to get the children out." He turned to Xar'Vex. "Your neural implants, they're designed to interface with Zenith systems, correct?" "Yes, and the human children have evolved to interface with technology naturally," Ajax continued. "If we combine those capabilities." "You're suggesting we create an improvised interface between Zenith technology and human neural patterns?" Xar'Vex was incredulous. "The compatibility issues alone would—" "We don't have time for theoretical objections," Reyna cut in. "The children are in danger, and so are we." Xar'Vex hesitated, then nodded. "What do you need from me?" The plan was desperate and dangerous. Using components from their communication gear and Xar'Vex's own neural implants, they constructed a crude interface device. Ajax would connect to it first, using his augmentations to establish a baseline, then Xar'Vex would join, providing the Zenith protocols that might help navigate the alien system. "This will hurt," Doc warned through the comm link, guiding them remotely from the warship. "And I have no idea what it will do to a Zenith nervous system." "Noted," Xar'Vex replied tersely. He looked to Ajax. "Ready?" The human nodded grimly. "For the children." The initial connection sent Ajax into convulsions, his augmented body fighting against the invasive signals. When he stabilized, his eyes had taken on an unnatural glow. "I can see the system architecture," he reported, voice strained. "It's beautiful and terrible. Like nothing I've encountered." Xar'Vex connected next. The pain was immediate and overwhelming, like acid flowing through his neural pathways. But beyond the pain was something else, a vast, alien consciousness that permeated the facility. "The Harvester is aware," he managed to communicate. "Not just a system, a collective mind." Through their improvised interface, they began to understand fragments of the Harvester's purpose. It wasn't simply collecting human children, it was studying their evolutionary leap, seeking to incorporate their adaptability into its own design. "We need to sever the connection between the pods and the central core," Ajax directed. "On my mark." Reyna positioned her team near the pods, ready to extract the children the moment they were freed. 3, 2, 1 mark. Ajax and Xar'Vex pushed simultaneously through the interface, flooding the harvester system with contradictory commands. The effect was immediate. Lights flickered, sentinels froze in place, and the pod's connection to the central core wavered. "Now!" Reyna shouted, and her team moved with practiced efficiency, opening pods and extracting children, but the harvester fought back. Through the neural link, Xar'Vex felt its rage and determination. It would not relinquish its prizes easily. "It's adapting too quickly," Ajax warned, blood trickling from his nose. "We can't maintain the disruption." Xar'Vex made a decision. "Get the children to the extraction point. I'll hold the connection." "That will kill you," Ajax objected. "Perhaps," Xar'Vex acknowledged. "But it will give you the time you need." For a moment, the human and the Zenith regarded each other, former enemies united by a common purpose. "Your sacrifice will be remembered," Ajax finally said. "See that it is," Xar'Vex replied with grim humor. "Now go." As the humans retreated with the rescued children, Xar'Vex deepened his connection to the harvester system. He was no longer trying to disrupt it, he was trying to understand it. And in understanding, perhaps find a weakness. The harvester's consciousness enveloped him, ancient and patient and utterly alien. It had consumed countless species across multiple galaxies, always seeking improvement, always adapting. But in the human children, it had found something unprecedented, a species that had evolved in response to near-extinction, developing abilities that defied conventional biology, and in that revelation, Xar'Vex found his opening. "You miscalculated," he communicated directly to the harvester consciousness. "Humans don't just adapt. They transform. And what they become is always more dangerous than what they were." With his remaining strength, Xar'Vex initiated a feedback loop in the interface, channeling the distinctive neural patterns of Zenith thought processes, orderly, hierarchical, precise, into the harvester system. The alien consciousness recoiled from the rigid structures, accustomed to the fluid adaptability it had been studying in humans. The chamber began to tremble as systems misfired and organic components rejected mechanical counterparts. Xar'Vex knew he had minutes at most before the facility's self-repair mechanisms overcame his attack. That he severed the connection and staggered toward the extraction point, each step a battle against his failing body. The neural overload had damaged systems throughout his exoskeleton, and silver blood leaked from multiple ruptures. He was halfway to the rendezvous when he collapsed. Through fading consciousness, he became aware of someone lifting him. Ajax had returned. "I told you to go," Xar'Vex protested weakly. "And I decided that was a stupid order," the human replied, hoisting the Zenith Commander over his shoulder with augmented strength. "Besides," Eli insisted. The child, somehow already recovered from the ordeal of captivity, walked alongside them, those black eyes fixed on Xar'Vex with unnerving intensity. "You're different," Eli said simply. "Not like the others of your kind. You can see beyond old hatreds." "I am a practical being," Xar'Vex managed to respond. "And practically speaking, extinction is bad for everyone." The evacuation was chaotic but successful. All 23 human children were recovered, along with valuable data on harvester operations. The facility itself began to collapse as they departed, its systems unable to compensate for the damage Xar'Vex had inflicted. From orbit, the Zenith Dreadnought finished the job, plasma cannons reducing the remains to superheated atoms. In the medical bay of the ancient warship, Xar'Vex drifted in and out of consciousness as Doc and a Zenith medical officer worked to repair the damage to his systems. "He'll live," he heard Doc pronounce at one point. "Though I wouldn't recommend any more neural interfaces in the near future. Or ever." When he finally regained full awareness, High Commander Vex'ahlia was waiting. "You disobeyed direct orders," the High Commander stated without preamble. "You collaborated with an enemy species. You compromised Zenith neural technology." Xar'Vex braced for judgment. "And in doing so," Vex'ahlia continued, "you may have saved us all from a threat greater than we realized." The admission clearly did not come easily to the High Commander. "The Dominion Council has reviewed the preliminary data from the Harvester facility. Their interest in human evolutionary adaptation suggests they recognized potential that we overlooked during the Purge. The humans have become something new, Xar'Vex agreed. Something that even the harvesters coveted. Which presents us with a dilemma, Vex'ahlia acknowledged. The very traits that make humans dangerous are also what make them valuable against the harvester threat. Xar'Vex attempted to sit up, his exoskeleton protesting the movement. What has the Council decided? The Purge directive has been suspended, pending further evaluation. A formal ceasefire will be proposed to the human remnant leadership. It wasn't peace, not yet. But it was a beginning. Later, when Xar'Vex was stronger, Reyna brought Eli to visit him. The child had changed, the black eyes now showed flecks of normal human irises, as though whatever evolution had been occurring was still in progress. The other harvesters will come, Eli said without prelude. This was just a scouting party. We will be ready, Xar'Vex assured the child. Zenith and human, together. Eli smiled, an expression that Xar'Vex was still learning to interpret correctly. They were right to fear humans, you know. Before the Purge, we were dangerous because we didn't understand our potential. Now we're dangerous because we do. And yet you saved me, Xar'Vex observed. Why? Because that's the part your kind never understood, Reyna answered from the doorway. Humans are dangerous, yes. We adapt, we fight, we survive against impossible odds. But we also protect. We defend. We save, even those who once tried to destroy us. She approached the bed, Ajax following behind her. The Zenith saw only our capacity for violence. You're beginning to see our capacity for something else. Humanity, Xar'Vex tested the word. A concept more complex than we recognized. And more necessary than either of us realized, Ajax added. Against enemies like the harvesters, extinction is a luxury none of us can afford. As the humans departed, leaving Xar'Vex to rest, he reflected on the irony of the situation. The Dominion had attempted to exterminate humanity because they feared what humans might become. In doing so, they had accelerated that very evolution, creating the very thing they feared most, but perhaps, Xar'Vex thought, that wasn't the tragedy it seemed. Perhaps it was exactly what the galaxy needed to face what was coming, because in the end, humans were never just survivors, they were the reckoning, and now, they were allies.